Today, we're going to unpack your questions relating to sexual intimacy. But first, let me just introduce our speakers, our two main panelists for today, and one of them all the way from UK. Her name is Gulya Diyarova. I hope you pronounced her name correctly.
Yeah.
Who's a fully qualified psychosexual therapist and relationship therapist. And Gulya, she uses the emotionally focused therapy approach, also known as EFT. But her first career was in Moscow as a qualified medical doctor, a pediatrician, and a clinical neurologist. Phew, I don't know how you managed to do all of that, Gulya, but that's really amazing. And, Gulya specializes working with distressed couples in a wide range of emotional, relational, and sexual concerns. And she's also the founding director of the EFT Clinic in London and the EFT International School. And the next person is Azah Yazmin, a friend and a couples counselor who also uses the EFT approach in her sessions. She's a member of the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy and graduated with a master's in counselling from UKM. Okay, and her main purpose is really to help couples who feel stuck in their marriage or relationships to get back to the happy place and remind them why they fell in love in the first place. So, welcome to our conversation, Gulya and Azah. Really, really wonderful to have you here today. So,
Yeah.
Hi. Hi,
Hi,
hello.
absolutely. So good to be here. So good to be here, guys. And I wish I was there with you, like live, on your soul, on your ground. But
oh yeah,
hi.
you're welcome to come and visit us in Malaysia one day.
Oh yeah, one day, definitely, definitely.
We always
Yeah.
have a place to stay with you, Gulya. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I have many friends now. I have many friends now in Malaysia.
Yes.
Yes.
So, Gulya and Azah, today's conversation and today's topic is something that I would say sometimes can be taboo here in Malaysia, to have a conversation about sexual relationships. Today we're talking within the context of marriage. And a lot of times, people don't know where to go, how to find information, or too shy to ask a lot of information, right? Questions. Azah, how was it like when you were growing up? How finding out about like sexual information in
Oh,
preparation for marriage?
oh goodness. I guess my mother was, or my parents were a little bit more forward than most Malay couples. So they told me about sex age appropriate at about 6 or 7. Already, they took me there's a little book called Where Did I Come From, which we read together, and I really didn't understand what they were trying to tell me at 6 years old. And then progressively, age appropriate information came to me, as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult. But what stopped is a relationship or sexual relationship in marriages. What do I do? How do I do it? Even though my parents were very open about it, about speaking my mind and talking about it, about relationships, about what's going on in my life. That part was still very not really taboo, but more of I don't know, information that was not right. Sorry, mom.
Mm.
Sorry, mom. So because I guess she also did had it with her her mother and my grandmother and so on and so forth. So we never got the right information, I guess.
I see. So, when we think about like sexual intimacy and the role it plays, that whole role of intimacy within marriage, like, what is it actually, and maybe Gulya, you could do a really wonderful introduction for us to kickstart this topic.
Yeah, yeah, it's and listening to you, it's so good, guys. You got us started because in my practice, I hear it all the time. Like, what is it about? What people getting a bit shy, kind of where to go with it, where to begin, even. Yeah. And at the same time, I think sexual intimacy, like, sexual desire, yeah, and everything around sex is such an important topic because it concerns
Mm.
all of us, and we all were born at some point. Yes, so it's like, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then it concerns us differently at different stages of life too. When we're little, when we're like teenagers, and further on. So it is, and you are definitely not alone on that, guys. Yeah. So common, what you just mentioned, what you talked about, it's so common. So I would really like us to have a good conversation around it. Yeah.
Uh,
And first of all, perhaps, what is sex? Yeah. What is it about?
I
Well, what a
know
fundamental question.
I know
Yeah.
from a
What comes to your mind? Yeah. When
Mm,
you think
um
about sex, right?
yeah.
That is the very first point I would like you to come together on. Yeah,
Mm.
like Azah, you, or I don't know, Grace, you might chip in as well. Azah, what is it when you say sex? Yeah, what comes to your mind? I wonder.
that conversation with my mom way back when, that was one.
Mhm.
Sex education class in school where a teacher was
Uh-huh.
talking about it scientifically, and then socially with friends. They have all these um, stories about what sex is all about, which
Uh-huh.
which
For
I
you personally, Azah, for you personally, when you think sex, what comes to your mind? Like your partner, your spouse, your whatever, So it's kind of your what I'm talking about. It is like sexual repertoire or
oh
sexual menu. Yeah. Sex is very often it likens people liken it to the food. Yeah, so can we talk like sexual menu?
okay. If I had a menu,
Yeah,
it I don't know. I think it, it won't be a Gordon Ramsay thing or or one of those things, but I think um, definitely trying things out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Having fun with each other, finding out
Yes,
things, likes
absolutely.
and dislikes about. Like I wouldn't know without a partner what I like or dislike was for
Oh,
certain.
so good, Azah. You started with that having fun,
Yeah,
having like your
Mm,
likes, your dislikes. It's not only pure like physical act, is it?
yeah,
Never.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's not only like penetrative sex, oral sex, it's about touching.
yeah,
It's about pleasure. It's about
yeah,
connection. It's about all those sexual toys, for example, exploring, curiosity, finding out what it is. Yeah, where are those nooks and crannies which gives you pleasure and you might not even know about sometimes?
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
so
So about
that is
discovery as well. It's about discovering yourself, and that's why
discovering,
yeah, discovery.
discovering.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Uh,
Gulya, just for a moment, we actually just wanted to tell our audience we do have a quiz for you, just to kind of like start off this whole conversation because I it's just fun, right? So like basically we if you can have a look at our chat box right now, whether you're on Facebook or on our YouTube channel, you should be able to see the link to join our poll, and there's three questions, very simple questions over there, just a quiz. What do you know? For example, is the penis size related to your shoe size? Yes or no? So yeah, just join in, okay, quiz just to have some fun. Okay,
and
great.
we'll give you the right answers. Don't
Yes, yes,
worry.
yes. We will tell you the right answers later.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also to those viewers who are watching online right now, I would really appreciate it if you could join in and log on to our Slido, so the link, and with our code to also ask questions. And you can ask questions anonymously, and we will address it at the end of today's session. So please, let's keep this as a very conversational thing with between all of us. So it's not just a three-way conversation here; it is a lot of a conversation about whatever you may want to ask. Okay,
Mhm.
so feel free to type it all in. Okay, so Gulya and Azhar, I'm gonna start off by asking some questions about attachment patterns. Oh no, before we do that, actually, let's talk about some common myths, right? Common myths relating around sex, because, like, for example, some people say that, oh, men want sex all the time, and they think about it all the time. They don't really have emotional needs. So, I mean, these are certain common things that we hear, right?
Yeah.
Let's
Like
talk a little bit about that.
like men have sex on their mind every 3-4 seconds or something like that. That's a myth that I've heard about. Like, how can you have? How can you be like that whole day? That's probably a myth, but not a fact.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right on that. And by the way, when we talked about what is sex, yeah, related to the myth you just mentioned, the two of you, it's also like what sex is not actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay? Yeah, sometimes people come and say, like, for one thing, yeah, that is what I hear all the time in my consulting room. Sex is not a need,
Mm.
in that we do not die without sex. We die without food. Food
Yeah.
is a need.
Mm.
And believe it or not, guys, we die without human touch. Babies die if they are not touched, if there is no that emotional and intimate connection. Yeah,
Wow.
that is absolutely crucial for that. That is a need. Okay, and sex is also not an entitlement. Yeah, you
Mm.
have to have your free will. You have to have your, like, it is your decision ultimately. Yeah, I think it makes a real good sense when you know what sex is, but also what sex is not.
Mm.
Yeah, and related to that, to what you mentioned, Grace, and other, like, thinking about sex, like every living second. Yeah, it is a myth, guys. Yes, statistically, actually, it's about kind of equal amount. Only sometimes it becomes more prominent in men or in women. Yeah, makes
Know
sense.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And also another myth, perhaps, it is about like vaginal orgasm, clitoral orgasm,
yeah.
some kind of superiority of vaginal orgasm or clitoral orgasm. And by the way, by statistics, yeah, by statistics, only 80% of women can experience actually, no, I'm wrong. 80% of women do not have orgasm from intercourse alone. That is without any clitoral stimulation or sex toys or touching, kissing, and all that. So that is interesting,
Wow.
isn't it?
That's
It's
so
80%.
yeah.
It's
That's a huge
huge.
yeah,
number. Yeah.
it is a huge proportion, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
But
So
I also feel it's quite normalizing as well for the couples and for the for men and the women in the couple, that if you don't reach orgasm in that it is okay, because 80% of us don't.
yeah, yeah,
That is,
absolutely.
yeah,
And in partnered sex, yes, it is different for men and women because we have different hormonal makeup internally and all that different physiology. We are different, yeah.
Mm.
So up to 90-95% of men actually do experience orgasm in partnered sex, and only 70% of women experience orgasm in partnered sex, and not every single time.
Mm.
Time. Yeah. So it is again, it is to say that, guys, it takes two to tango. Yeah. It is a partnered activity. You can't run it on your own, in
Yeah.
the same way as you can't run your relationship on your own. Yeah,
Mm.
it's a dance. Yeah, it is a
yeah.
beautiful, emotional, connecting, and sexual dance as well. And by the way, 10% of women do not experience orgasm
At all.
at all, although they might at some point later in life, they might. Yeah,
Wow.
but kind of in every given kind of chunk of time, that is how it goes. Yeah,
Well, I guess it's very liberating to feel that you don't need to reach a certain standard or norm of what people think that this is normal, or maybe like, that it's
yeah,
okay not to experience that orgasm, bit like because you fall into the majority, or rather like, it's you need extra stimulation in order for it to happen.
absolutely,
Or yeah,
absolutely. You
or
need some engagement, you need some
right.
involvement in that. It's not just a mechanical kind of activity, you come together, everything switches on, everything online at the very exact moment for the two of you. You are human, guys. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Like,
I think that's really great, Gulya, because it feels like you're really taking the pressure off couples to achieve a certain, like what Grace says, a certain standard, or you have to have orgasm. I've heard one myth that you have to have orgasm, otherwise you won't get pregnant. That's another myth I've heard. Yeah, so it's really, I mean, I like this conversation where we're really taking off that pressure for both men and women in the couple, that you don't
yeah.
have to do that.
So good you said this, Azah, because again, I hear all I say, it's actually coming from real people. Yeah, from my couples, I have worked I have worked with, and also around, there are a lot of myths around the duration of how long does it take for women to get to orgasm, how long it takes for men. Yeah, it's interesting also, depending on where you are emotionally. It may
Ah,
take like 20 plus minutes for women to actually get to that point where you let go. Yes, that's
you let go.
Wow.
Let go here first, right?
exactly your biggest sexual organ is your brain. Your brain. Yeah. And Grace, you show like from here, you have a list usually, your what to do list.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
like, I'm thinking about this, or I'm worried about work, or I'm just thinking about the kids and their bedrooms. And
absolutely. Kids, a dog, a cat, yeah, everything.
Finances, yeah, everything.
Yeah. So you need to kind of around 15, 20 minutes to switch off to a different
wow.
channel almost. Yeah.
I remember attending a marriage course in Malaysia once, and the person was saying, uh, they were referring orgasm or getting turned on to kitchen appliances. So
Uh-huh.
the men are like microwaves. They get turned on very fast, very quickly.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, ma'am. But the women are like ovens. You need to switch it on first before you put the
Uh-huh.
cake in.
Yes, I'm warming up. I'm
Yeah, the
warming
women
up.
are like ovens.
Yeah.
The men's like microwave.
Actually, Azah, it's so interesting you mentioned that, because sometimes there is another myth that men are always and any moment ready for sex.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's interesting, isn't it?
that can't be true, because I have had situations of people confiding to mention that their husbands are the ones who are not interested actually, in sex, and they are the women are the ones who are struggling. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
obviously a problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
I heard so many times men coming and saying, I have needs too. I have my emotional needs. I want connection. I want foreplay. I want some feel to feel my partner, to feel my beautiful wife or my partner. Yeah. So, and sometimes women come and say, I know what I want straight away. Like, I'm like a guy in a bedroom. So there are all kinds of variations, all kinds of variations, and the main thing is communicate, communicate, communicate. Yeah. So
And it
that
feels,
is
sorry, Guli, and it feels it's not a gender thing at all.
no,
It's
no.
not gender specific to anyone. It's just really where you're at as a person, to where whether you're ready to connect or not, and whether
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
right.
And just on that miss kind of piece, sometimes it's very common, guys. Yeah, when they say like, when you plan sex, it's not sexy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's like I want it spontaneous. I want it kind. So there it is a miss in some way. I always remind people, even if we go back to your most romantic stage at the beginning of the relationship, remember how you thought about your dates, about the other one all the time. You planned. You planned what you wear, what you say, what you take with you, where you go, how it is going to happen. You planned it all the time.
Mm.
Yeah. But you were not that conscious about it. because it was kind of mutual. But when life takes over, we put in the diary all the things we need to think about. So, sex is the most, such an important activity, such an important part of your life. So planning it shows connection, shows care, shows effort, shows involvement. And they are all very sexy, guys, believe me. Yes, they are all very sexy.
It's like planning what lingerie to wear tonight, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You
It
know,
is
I had a,
beautiful.
I
It
had a,
is beautiful to know that your husband thought about it,
right.
put all the effort and all the thought into
Oh my gosh, yes, that's
how
true.
he's going to meet you. Wow, guys, it's a dream. I think it's like a sexual fantasy. Yeah,
Wow. You know,
Uh,
I was talking about the lists and stuff. I was just reminded about a friend of mine when I was living in the UK. That's how I met Gulya. Um, and she was in the middle of her move. This is it's a global move, and she was going to another state in another country in Europe. I was there because I was the one that helped her out packing.
oh wow.
They were literally, I was beading with sweat, and then all of a sudden they go like, bye, and I said, where are you going off? And I says, we already planned this session that in the middle of, and I'm sweating,
Yeah,
and you're going
yeah.
to have sex somewhere else and I'm doing the work,
Wow.
so yeah. And they took the whole 2 days off. They drove there, had a
Yeah.
wonderful time, and they came back, and
Wow.
I noticed, this is what I noticed, they came back really refreshed and not on each
Yeah.
other's nerves, actually to
Yeah.
because packing and moving
Beautiful.
globally is
Yeah.
stressful. It's
Yeah.
stressful, So it was amazing. It was amazing.
Amazing. And when you plan, it means that I am on your mind and you are on my mind. Yeah. So it's already gets all the juices going almost. Yeah.
Yeah, so it helps you to be present, right? When
Yes.
when the time
Yes.
comes. So Gulya
Yes.
and Azah, if you could tell us a little bit about like attachment patterns, because I think there's this thing about like insecure or secure patterns. Could you kind of elaborate a little bit about this?
I'll let Gulya do it
Okay.
because she's master
Okay. I
psychic.
will need I will need your input
Oh,
too,
okay,
Azam.
Okay, no
okay.
problem.
And yeah, and you, Grace, obviously, yeah. So guys, just to give you a piece of like psych education or whatever, so that we have the common language for that, yeah. So there are like 4 behavioral systems which govern our behavior, our life, basically. The first one is the attachment system. It is about security, feeling safe, feeling connected with your closest one, yeah. The other one is caregiving behavioral system. That is how we care for our kids, for our closest ones. Then there is a sexual behavioral system, yeah, which is the obvious one. We'll talk more. Still, we will talk more about it. It is a subject of our conversation anyway. And then there is an exploratory behavioral system. When we want to learn, we want to know more things, where we feel comfortable in new settings and all that. And again, guys, if you think about all those 4 systems, the attachment system, the safety system, takes precedence. We learn, we can caregive, yeah, we can have sex when we feel good about ourselves, when we are not activated, when we are not triggered.
Mm,
Although for sex, it is a bit different. Like they say that angry man wants sex very often. Angry woman rarely does she want sex. Yeah. So there might be some discrepancy as well. Yeah. And secure sex, what Sue Johnson, the founder of emotionally focused therapy, talks about, she calls it like synchrony sex, a safe adventure. A safe adventure. It is an adventure, but it is a safe adventure, yeah, where we both feel accessible, responsive, and engaged and connected, yeah. And
mm,
there are sometimes, the two kind of responses to a threat, like be it a perceived threat or an actual threat, like disconnect, emotional unease, discomfort, all those things, yeah. And we usually have, some of us might have like an anxious attachment, yeah, where we start engaging in sex for reasons like to please my partner, yeah, so
Mm.
that he feels or she feels good about us, not for the pleasure, not for the actual sexual pleasure, but more like for anxious reasons, yeah. So Sue Johnson calls it like a solace sex, yeah.
Solace
So
sex.
the solace
Oh,
sex,
solace. Ah, yes. Okay.
solace, it is like for approval, for reassurance, to avoid abandonment, yeah,
Mm.
to
So it is for the person who doesn't want to feel abandoned, so they have sex in order
yeah,
to build on that relationship, but it's actually a
yes,
secure
exactly.
attachment. That's what
Yes,
you said, right?
totally.
Okay.
In their mind, it is like I need to have sex,
Mm.
otherwise I will be abandoned by my partner. My
Yeah.
partner won't like me, my partner will be unhappy, and they will leave. So that is like the major motivation, a major reason for them to have sex. Yeah.
Mm.
But the partner, very often it is like, in those moments, it's like opposites attract. One might have that anxious motivation, anxious attachment, activated attachment. And the other one would have, my guess is, the other one would have like deactivation, more like avoidant attachment, pulling back. They still want sex, they still need sex, but they might have it for purely like physical reasons, yeah,
Having
for
children.
physical reason, just to relieve the pressure, yeah,
Mm.
sometimes like physical pressure. There is no enjoyment, there is no like connection, there is no emotional connection. It can be anybody, always, yeah. So that is a sealed off sex,
Mm.
yes, sealed off sex. They are not there, their body is there, but they are not there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah. That's
purely like
a little
physical,
sad.
relieve stress, self enhancement, to impress peers sometimes, to brag about, yeah.
Right.
So there is no connection, there are very different reasons, motivations for sex.
Mm.
Yeah, I hope it makes sense, guys. Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
Grace, does it make
Yeah,
sense?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It makes sense. It makes sense that
yeah.
like, we do all have different motivations, and which brings me to the next question actually, because the question is about like sexual desire, and oftentimes it is very not the same, isn't it? Like one person wants a sex, or is like somebody else says like, oh, I feel that it's my responsibility or my duty to do this, and the desire is actually different. So, how are we able to address this?
Mhm. Very important question. It is like, again, I'm immediately thinking about my couples, my clients, people who come to me for consultations and all that. And just to give you a very simple definition, perhaps even, yeah, what is sexual desire? It is a feeling, yeah, it is a feeling of wanting to engage in a sexual activity, either with your partner or with oneself, with yourself sometimes. Yeah. And then arousal is a physiological response to sexual stimuli, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
again, it's not a drive. Yeah. We don't need sex as we need food, for example, or a connection. Yeah. An emotional connection. Yeah, so it makes sense. And there are different kinds of sexual desire, yeah, which is also so very important and liberating, using your good word, Grace, and liberating to know about, actually. Yeah. Do you want me to talk a bit about what
Yeah,
kind of
why not? Why not?
is
Yes,
Um,
this is great.
desire? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So So there are like, models of sexual desire. Yeah. It is how we express our desire. And again, it changes, guys. It never stays the same. It changes along the line. Like, depending, is it the beginning of the relationship? Is it like longer term relationships? It changes. It never stays the same. And the same for men and women, by the way.
Mm.
So at the beginning of our relationship, in that romantic kind of stage where stars are out, moon is out, fireworks, and kind of all that, it is usually goes like in a linear form. We have desire. Yeah, I see my partner, I get excited, I get sexually excited, then I get aroused, then we go and have sex, we have orgasm, then there is like a resolution stage. This is pretty straightforward, isn't it? Yeah. That is what happens usually, or with a new partner. With a new partner. But more often, in a more established relationship, it is like a circular desire. Yeah. I don't need to feel sexual, to have a sexual desire to actually enter a sexual activity. All I need to have is willingness. My partner is a good guy. He unloaded a dishwasher in the morning twice in a day. He is a good guy. I know that he knows how to pleasure me. He knows how to initiate. I know in my mind that I'm going to have a good time, actually. So there is no like pure sexual desire, but a willingness to do that. Yeah. And then along the line, my arousal comes online, my desire comes online. I start feeling really sexual towards my partner. And then our body knows what to do, guys. Yeah. Just trust it. Just go there with an anticipation, with fantasizing, with some, thoughts. Yeah, again, your biggest sexual organ is your brains. Yeah,
Wow.
you have sex first in your brains. Yeah,
Wow,
with
you kind of play the movie and how it would go in your brain first.
absolutely, and
Right.
then your body takes over
Mm.
because it knows what to do. All the hormonal changes, all the juices flowing, and then it happens, and you have the most beautiful experience. Even, by the way, even without orgasming sometimes. Yes, the pleasure-oriented sex.
Mm.
That's how we marry the two together. Yeah, the sexual activity, sexual act, like a physical act, but also the pleasure of it. Yeah, it's not only like goal-oriented. Yeah, we have enough goals in our outside life, like appraisals, valuations, evaluations, and kind of achievements, and also goal-oriented. So we get socialized to that. Yeah. And then our bedroom becomes like a competition, like another goal oriented activity, another, the place to achieve. Yeah. And we forget about the pleasure. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does
Wow.
it make sense, guys? Does it make
Yeah,
sense?
so
Yeah.
because sometimes people wait to have a feeling first before they
Oh,
want to take an action, right?
exactly.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
it's like I'm waiting for this feeling to come, and if it doesn't come, then I'm not going to take action. But what we're saying is that
Yeah.
it's all interrelated. You think about it, you take some kind of action, and then
Yeah.
eventually the feelings will come.
Yeah, that is a very important piece you touched on, Grace. Like we have a responsive desire, we have a spontaneous desire. Spontaneous desire, like I see my husband, I see like, or the husband sees his wife and kind of, and they get like, sexual desire. But sometimes there is a responsive response to the pleasuring, response to him or her being good, being kind of, so that is a different kind of, it's in a circular way. Yeah, exactly. The sexual desire as such in its pure form, it comes later. Just trust your body, trust yourself,
So
and
it's
know yourself.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
It
when
just
you even,
reminds. Sorry, Azah.
so I was just thinking, so even when, you talk that, I don't know how to say this because it's live. I'm trying to normalize it for myself.
Okay,
Not
okay.
and not get and not get somebody embarrassed. But I was thinking like, okay, I've seen friends talk to each other, and they talk like very sexual to each other in the middle of the conference, or they'll give that wink of an eye, like like you're going to do a good job, and we're going to have some closeness later.
Yeah.
So that sort of communication, I feel that's happening. That
Oh,
that
totally.
happens really beforehand, before, and I'm also hearing that it doesn't result in physical intercourse at the end of the day. It's more about pleasure, being connected,
Yeah,
communication,
yeah.
and just being safe with each other.
Feeling
Having a safe
safe,
space.
feeling safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sex is so much more than just the physical activity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is when you think what is sex. Yeah, it's a sexual repertoire, sexual menu is much bigger.
Mm,
Yeah,
Right.
in that
mm.
sense, than just a kind of physical act. Yeah, and in that sense, you both said so many times, we all said so many times, like communicate, communicate, communicate. Yeah, and to communicate, you need to know it about yourself first of all. You need to know what to communicate.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah. So in that sense, again, around sexual desire, if we stay a bit more with the sexual desire thing, it's about like so good to know. If we go a bit technical here, like knowing and talking about your car, you know where your brake is, you know where your accelerator is. There are sexual brakes, sexual accelerators. Yeah, sexual brakes, the things which kind of kill desire or lessen the desire.
Like a
Say,
criticism in the middle.
yes, stop the desire. Totally. Yeah, very, very good word. Yeah. It's like first of all, the anxiety and pleasure, they can't go together. Yeah.
Wow.
The anxiety kind of dampen the pleasure. Yeah. We can't experience pleasure, we can't safely experience pleasure if we worry about something.
Mm.
Yeah, if
That's
we
right.
feel unsafe. Okay.
Is it unsafe in the relationship or unsafe outside the relationship, or both?
Yeah, it doesn't matter, Azah. Yeah, the brain, it doesn't in the moments of danger.
Mm,
Yeah, feeling
mm.
unsafe. It is about danger, isn't it? Whether it is your emotional well-being or anything else inside yourself, outside yourself, the brains. It doesn't matter. They need to keep you safe, and it is usually kind of fight or flight response.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm,
some of us run from danger, some of us fight with danger, or both sometimes.
mm.
Yeah, so that is real important. The real kind of, again, we go back to the connection. How you feel within yourself, how you feel within your relationship. Yeah, can you be yourself? Can you expose yourself? It's like in sex, we are like physically naked, but also emotionally naked,
Very
aren't we?
true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So it is like it takes such a level of trust, yeah, to feel safe.
Mm,
So those breaks, but sometimes, guys, having said that, there are actually kind of um, natural breaks, like, very useful breaks. Say, right this minute, any one of us might have said, like, guys, I feel real horny this moment. I need to excuse myself and go to my bedroom, kind of, and where my husband is waiting for me. Yeah, we wouldn't say that because it is inappropriate. Yes. Yes, so there are kind of good natural breaks. Yeah, but also what may be a break, like, for your desire, for your sexual arousal, even sometimes, like, you have not shaved tonight.
mm,
Yeah, so this is kind of like a turn off for me. So
mm,
this knowing your turn ons, and turn-offs.
Mm.
What turns you on?
Mm.
Yeah, certain things, and do not keep quiet about it, but really say it in a good way, in a nice way, kind of, because it is a break,
True.
right?
So to communicate, like for example, I would like you to have a shower first
Yes, yes,
before
to
you.
have a shower first. Yeah, yeah,
or
why not?
yeah,
Why not? Because it's not only a personal preference or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
it impacts the whole interaction, doesn't it?
and I've also heard somebody, I mean, a guy friend saying, saying like, you should put some perfume on, something, some lingerie, feel a bit sexy. So yeah, I guess
Yes,
that
all those things.
all those things, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, many people, we know it somehow within ourselves on some subconscious level.
Mm.
Yeah, but we do not always communicate it, and we do not always ask the other
Mm.
one. That
Right.
might be a real good conversation, yeah, around brakes and accelerators. Accelerators, the things which kind of increase arousal. And that is what we want, don't we? Yeah.
I wonder if the public or whoever's listening in right now can just write down your breaks and accelerators in the chat box, and let's see who comes
Yeah,
up with what.
yeah,
It could be as easy as putting a perfume on, taking a shower, or
yeah, yeah.
something.
Something very
Yeah,
easy. It doesn't
yeah.
need
Let's
to be.
share. Let's share it. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's share it then.
yeah,
Accelerated. Yeah.
What,
What
what's
can
your
accelerate?
what's your accelerator and what's your
Yeah. What's your accelerated?
and we will all learn from that, by the way,
Mm.
from sharing. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Very
Something
true.
you might not have thought about even, yeah. But what is arousing, and again, what I want to really emphasize, it doesn't need to be a pure sexual accelerator. Yeah, again, what I mentioned earlier, like for your desire to come online, for your arousal to come online, sometimes, oh wow, you made that nice dinner reservation,
Mm.
you took care of a babysitter, yeah,
Mm. Mm.
you put your effort to make this thing happen. Yeah, of course it is going to be an accelerate, although it is not a kind of sexual one. Yeah,
Yes.
so
Yes.
those
It
things,
sounds like a lot of housework to me. Ticking off that list,
yeah,
it's like I have a list of housework that you are doing, but I'm in your mind, so you are preparing us by taking
yes,
away these things, these lists,
totally,
and reducing my anxiety, so I can be prep myself for you.
yes,
So this is what I'm
yeah.
doing. Yeah.
I don't need to think about it. You took care about it. Yeah. Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
And it's interesting, by the way, the biggest kind of break for women quite often is an unequitable division of labor
Yes.
in the relationship. Yeah.
Right.
Who does what? Are we women, sometimes men, have like a second shift at home when we come home from work? And there is a kind of dishwasher to unload or to upload or to whatever. And kids are screaming and not fed and kind of not looked after. Am I in my sexual mood? Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably not. So those mundane things, kind of
Mm.
seemingly mundane things,
Yeah.
yes, they might have such a big impact.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
So
amazing.
so to people listening in, yeah, offer to do housework and take care of some of the worries that your partner has, so that they can have a very relaxing evening. And I guess, or morning, like sometimes maybe in the morning it'll be a good timing, because you're not bothered by all these things yet.
yeah,
You
Well,
mentioned that
yeah.
like our brain is like the biggest sexual organ. So sometimes when you wake up, you're fresh and you're thinking like, oh, I don't have any worries yet. So
yeah.
Or
That is interesting, guys. You all are listing the like reasons to have sex or not to have sex. Yeah. And if before, like historically, there would be like sex is for procreation, sex is to relieve pressure, and that's it actually.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
But actually, from research, there are close to 237 reasons to have sex.
There's
Yeah.
237 reasons to have sex.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the list?
Absolutely.
I don't think
It's
we
like,
have time for 200 over.
yeah,
We'll
you
pick a few.
know, in the last like half an hour, we've all been talking about reasons to have sex. Yeah, for willingness to have sex. It may be as mundane as I want to relieve pressure, stress inside. But it is the reason to connect, the reason to feel good about myself, the reason to feel good about the relationship. And like, if it is mutual, that is where we can meet. Okay. And most of them are not sexual, kind of purely sexual. That is interesting, isn't it? If
Mm,
he is good to me, she is good to me, it is a good reason, good enough for me to want my willingness to come online. And then again, your body takes over, guys. Your body knows what to do.
wow.
Yeah.
There's a comment I'd like to read if that's okay, Grace.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Okay.
yeah.
So it's from my friend and also fellow therapist,
Oh,
Bawani Chinapan. She says couples seems to have lost their passion in a long-term relationship. Relationship becomes more of a companionship, but instilling desire for sex is a good part. Is good as part of fun for couples. I think that's what she says.
uh-huh.
So if for long-term relationships, probably that desire isn't there, as you said, as in the early years of relationship.
Yes, a spontaneous desire.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah,
responsive desire is always there, guys.
right.
Even having a good conversation. What are my brakes? What are my accelerators? What are your brakes? What are your accelerators? Yeah. That is the whole kind of opening up the whole another different field of a conversation.
And that is
Okay.
sex itself, isn't it? Isn't that so, Gulya? Having a conversation of brakes and accelerators, that is your sexual repertoire itself.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk a bit more like what you can do. Yeah, I think, Grace, you that is what you mentioned as well. What you can do actually in your bedroom and
Yes,
outside.
yes,
Yeah,
practical, please. That will be very helpful.
yeah, practical things. Like discovery in the sense of curiosity, in the sense of discovery. Yeah, the safer you feel in your relationship, that is what motivates people to learn more.
Mm,
Okay, so that I can share
mm.
and he can share or she can share as well. And that is, Sue Johnson says that the secure connection, the safety in the relationship is the best aphrodisiac, actually, and
Wow.
the best sexual technique. Actually.
Wow.
So
The
the
Great
safety,
voices
emotional
from the
connection.
especially as your friend says, in longer term relationships. Yeah, when the novelty can't last forever. That is why it is called novelty. Yeah, it wears off. Yeah,
Mm,
but all those discoveries along the way, where you are emotionally, what is happening right now for you. Yeah, because the most intimate thing, it's not actually the kind of physical sexual act. The most intimate thing is sharing. Yeah, trusting with your feelings. That is the highest level of trust, guys. It's not
yeah,
about like cheating, non-cheating, or whatever, but trusting, being able to trust you, kind of opening up, showing all the nooks and crannies of my heart, of my soul.
yeah,
Yeah, what can be more beautiful? What can be more safer and kind of intimate? Yeah, that is what tantric sex is about, isn't it? The most sexual thing is actually coming, looking eye to eye, looking into your eyes, and putting your hands like, your hand and my hand coming together.
yeah.
Yeah, like
yeah.
two partners connecting. Those are areas the most like we do a brief handshake and that's it. Yeah. But actually, do you know, guys, that even that skin to skin contact, and like we hug each other, for example, a hug, that skin to skin contact needs to last at least 10 to 12 to 15 seconds for the hormones, good hormones, oxytocin, dopamine, and all those good hormones to get flowing.
Wow, 10 to 15 seconds. Okay,
Yes,
everyone, your challenge today is to hug your spouse for 10 to 15 seconds.
absolutely. 10
And,
to 15. And you guys, you might have noticed when kids give you a hug, they really stay in that.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
They stay instinctively. They know that, and you should never stop a hug with a kid till they go.
yes,
you
correct.
know
Yeah,
so that, but with kind of adults, we give a quick hug, a quick pat on the shoulder, and feel that it is enough, but it's not. Yeah, you
and
stay a bit longer and your body takes over then. Yeah, because then your body knows what to do.
We actually
and you
have
know,
quite a lot of questions.
Oh,
Quite
I
about
just
11 questions here
uh,
from people. But yes, I mean, we will address some of these really soon. But maybe we can kind of like give a few more, maybe Gulya and Azah, just give a few more practical kind of tips that we can,
I I
take.
wanted to say, yeah, I wanted to say from Gottman, the one of the relationship gurus, side by side with Sue Johnson. They said 6 second kisses have the
wow.
same effect as that hugs that Gulya was talking about. So
Yeah.
it doesn't take long, guys. It's
Wow.
15 seconds and 6 seconds.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
but
it's
it pays
beautiful.
off. It pays off in such a big way,
It
doesn't it?
does. It does.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
huge. You know.
And
So
it is all good research behind it. Yeah,
absolutely. So
yeah,
homework, everybody. Homework.
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely,
activate
guys.
those hormones by 6 second kisses, 10 to 15 second hugs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Practical
yeah,
homework,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
and,
And
amazing.
and do the
even if
housework.
you, guys, if you start rehearsing it with your kids, you will see the impact. Yeah, you will see the impact on their nervous system. Yeah, and
Mhm.
the same happens for us adults, but we're too busy, kind of, running around and achieving.
Mm.
Yeah, so that is what happens very often.
I
So,
just
guys,
oh, sorry.
yes,
So I was just thinking also that when we with babies, when you kiss them, you go,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and it's so long.
yeah. It
It is.
seems
It
like
seems
so
like,
long.
but
Yeah,
they calm down as well. So
yeah,
um, so the research is about what we do for we connect with children, mothers and babies. That connection, that safety also translate into adult safety as well.
yeah.
So
That is where it starts. That
starts
is
from,
where it begins.
yes,
But also, we say as therapists, or somebody said, very wise person, like it's never late to have a happy childhood, guys.
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of
Even
hug
as
activities.
adults, we can co-create it together. Yeah. And it only takes 6 seconds of kissing and 15 seconds of hugging. Yeah,
Mm.
very often.
What a wonderful recipe.
Yeah, so this is something you can do in your bedrooms. That is something you can do outside your bedroom. Yeah,
Okay,
It's
yeah,
yes.
thank you.
yeah,
Well,
and yeah, yeah,
continue, Azah.
No,
Sorry, Gulya.
I
Gulya.
did. I did.
yeah, yeah. Just thinking again, thinking. My mind is already like people being intimate. Yeah, again in the bedroom, but also outside of the bedroom. Yeah, and think about like first of all, perhaps turn off the critical voice of yours, which
Wow.
goes at the background. I know that from the experience, I know that personally. It goes on and on and on at the background, sometimes very loud, sometimes a bit kind of quieter, but still there. Okay? Very often couples come to me and ask, what is normal in sex? Yeah, what is normal? Is what he is doing, is it normal what I'm doing, and kind of all that? And I always say, as long as it is agreed, communicated and agreed, between the two of you, that is normal, guys. What gives you pleasure, what gives you connection, what gives you that closeness, anything and everything almost, apart from cruelty, of course, and kind of all those consensual things, but we're not talking about that. Yeah, we're
Mm.
talking about that healthy, intimate, and safe communication, right? So know yourself, know your brakes, know your accelerators, know your turn-ons, know your turn-offs, know what kind of desire you have at this point of your life. Desire changes, it fluctuates, guys. It never stays the same. It will
Mhm.
never stay the same. So,
Mm.
knowing what kind of sex is worth wanting, actually. Yeah, this is a good conversation. We always have that kind of a conversation. Sometimes I might say, like, the kind of sex you're having now, guys, who would want it actually? If it is unsatisfactory, doesn't give you any pleasure, and why would you want it? Let's see what can we change there. What is you want? What is it you want? What is it you want to be able to respond to what he wants?
Mm.
And vice versa. That is how we come, to some common ground there. And it
So
is all about discovery.
So
Yeah.
this kind of brings me to this question because someone asked here because he says that it's always frustrating when one person always starts to ask for it, but the other person never does, right?
Yeah.
So it makes you think like, yeah, the other person's not interested. So I think like what we're saying is things that's within our control. But I think when a lot of the other questions is like, what do you do when the other partner doesn't feel the desire at the same time? Those are very standard, normal questions, I'm sure. It feels like there's nothing you can do to change the other person, right? And
No,
yeah.
guys.
So
Yeah. It's couples come to me exactly with that piece. If only he changed, if only she changed, yeah. And I always say, guys, you are bright and smart and such a kind of talented people. You would have done it without me. Why would you want me if we could change the other person? Sometimes people kind of spend or waste rather years and years and years trying to change the other one. So again, look into yourself. Look what you want, what you need, what are your peculiarities, what are your turn-ons, turn-offs, brakes, accelerators, what kind of desire you have. Yeah, what kind of motivations you have for to be safe, to be like to feel safe, to feel intimate. So this is all requires sharing, guys.
mm,
Sharing. Even we often start like a practical thing. Yeah, I often start in the in the consulting room, guys. Like take your partner's hand. If you are on your own, do it yourself. You know, put like do this stroking. Pay attention to the temperature of the skin, to the texture, yeah, and pressure. So you touch your partner. Only he or she knows what is that like to be touched. Only you know what is that like to touch. Yeah. And that is where it's like it starts with a discovery already. Tell me, what is that like? I touch you. How is my pressure? How is the temperature? How is the texture? Yeah. So that is like awakening. There are so many nerve endings on the skin. Yeah. It's like it is the second biggest sexual organ, your skin. And people start exploring. Yeah. And they find out there are so many discoveries, guys. Somebody never got behind your ears, for example. My neck is my most kind of sensitive area, or so all those things, that is where it starts. Yeah, we call it sometimes like sensate focus. And we have a really good conversation. What is it like for you to be touched? but what is that like for you to touch, actually? And it's sometimes it's a bit of a kind of confusing piece for people when I say, guys, first you be selfish,
Yeah.
selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I repeat it again so that you take it in. Yeah, because it is again against a bit against all the social norms. Yeah,
Yeah.
but in your bedroom, first you be selfish. You know how it is for you when you touch the other person. Yeah, then guided by that knowledge, by that discovery, you can feel if it is pleasurable, if it is not pleasurable. If it is pleasing, pleasurable for you, then good chances are that it becomes pleasurable for the other one.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
And that is where you modify, you adjust. You can take your partner's hand and you do this guided discovery. Yeah. So that you keep his hand, you guide it along your own hand. You stay longer where it feels real good. You press it, you moderate, you modify the pressure. You guide his hand or her hand into other areas, into other places. Yeah. So all this about discovery, guys. Again, yeah. And
Mm.
it is about sensuality, first of all. Yeah, pleasure orientation, and then your body takes over. Your body does the rest, guys. Yeah, arousal, desire, kind of it just follows, because that is a physiology. You kick up the physiology, yeah, and
Mm.
then it kicks in. Yeah. So
Uh, so it's kind of like summarize as well. You need to communicate in order for the other person to understand where and
yeah,
what you
yeah.
like, what you want, and essentially that's how you can kickstart that
The
new,
whole the
yeah,
whole chain of
journey.
events. The
It's a
whole
domino effect.
Guys, from that kind of going a bit further, another good tip, yeah, to use as part of your foreplay,
Mm.
which is so important for men, for women, it's the same, yeah. Uh, even if you are fully closed, by the way, you can have your conversation. I'm just thinking, like on your walk in the park, for example, yeah. So, guys, but still, one woman said to me, and I remember it like forever, I think, she says, like, foreplay starts for me at the breakfast table, actually. Yeah. How we are to each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of vibe is there? What kind of goodwill is there? Yeah. And the part of that foreplay may become like a 3-minute game, it is called. A 3-minute game. Yeah, where I might begin, my partner might begin. It is like the first question I'm asking: how do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes?
Nice question.
Nice question. Where do you want me to go? How do you want me to do that? So this is the first question about me. How do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes? The second question would be, how do you want to touch me for 3 minutes? Yeah? How do you want to touch me for 3 minutes? So it's already discovery, isn't it? Yeah?
Mm.
Then we swap places. Then another set of good questions. So 3 minutes. It's only 3 minutes, guys. Yeah. But then again, so much goes into it. Yeah. Another good set of questions is like, what do you want me to do to you for 3 minutes? Yeah.
Mm.
What do you want me to do to you? And then what do you want to do to me for 3 minutes?
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's such a simple question, isn't it?
And I
But
think that sometimes people never had that kind of conversation ever, or it's just like I'm thinking it, but maybe I've never expressed it. Yeah.
never. And do not expect, this is such an important point, Grace. Do not expect the other one
No.
magically know what is on your mind, what you want, what you prefer. How would the other one know? How would he know how I'm touching him, how it is for me, if I do not let him know?
Mm.
Mm.
How does he know what is it like for me to be touched if I do not let him know?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
I
kind
think
of,
what's yeah, this is amazing, Gulya, because all these practical stuff. Another practical stuff that's pinging for me right now as you're talking is, when we talk about a lot of communication, knowing what we want, and guiding each other on how we want it to be. But one of the things that I find even in my practice or in my consultation room is that there's a lot of other, my wife, my husband, that has to do this. They, like you said, need to read my mind more, need to do that more. But I guess the biggest shift here would be putting the spotlight on yourself first
yeah,
instead of
yeah,
putting the spotlight outside, because we are all socialized to put all the spotlights ourselves, to others, to blame, to criticize, to this, to that, so causing anxiety and stuff like that. But when we
yeah,
really, when Buddha says selfish, it's about putting the spotlight on you. What it's your
yeah,
own self growth as well. It's
Mm.
your own self
mhm,
growth, your own want, your own need. Am I safe? Am I not? Communicating that to the other person. They won't
yeah,
magically understand, but it's just putting, and I've done the spotlight work myself. It is hard. I get it.
mhm,
It's
mhm,
hard to know, what you want, what you need, and having that thing. But it does start with you, I feel.
Okay.
yeah,
I need to kind of like pause this a little bit because you know questions. I don't think we can go through all of that. It's already almost 5:10.
Oh
Well,
wow.
Malaysian time. So, I'm just kind of like, I'm so sorry, we won't be able to answer all the questions, but I'm going to pick and choose some of the questions here. So over here is that like, let me just take one of this. Okay. So how regular should sex be for it to be healthy?
oh,
Oh wow.
yeah.
And by how long should it be?
How long should it be?
Is it frequency? They're talking about frequency of the
Yes, how
actual.
regular and how long?
Oh,
Okay, okay, real
Well,
good
I would like
question.
to answer for that.
Real frequent question. I don't know, Azah, if you want to go first
you
or
can go first. I need to know this answer as well.
uh, guys. It's not like I'm like some guru person there. Yeah.
No, no,
Again,
no.
back to the point, not only my point, but kind of in the field. Yeah. What is normal for you, for the two of you? That is normal. Having said that, there need to be a good conversation about it. Yeah. Some people have it twice a day. I don't know, in the morning. Some people have it twice a week. Some people have it twice a month. Yeah. Again, what is good for you guys? Yeah. That is normal. It ranges, like, but the unhappiness comes up when there is that discrepancy
Mm,
of desire. Yeah,
mm,
we do not talk even like low desire, kind of, high desire or whatever. There is more like discrepancy of desire. Yeah, when people miss each other. Yeah,
yes.
we
Yeah.
miss each other when there is a gap, and that is where the unhappiness, where there is a difference, potentially there is a conflict, isn't it?
Mm,
So we go into kind of deeper reasons, guys. What is happening in your relationship, first of all? Yeah, which makes you want this more, or kind of think about it more and think about it less.
right.
Yeah, and again, for women, it's like that long list, long what to do list.
Mm,
Sometimes sex gets pushed down there, guys.
low priority.
No priority, not because we don't want that, not because we kind of, but because it gets taken over a bit.
Mm,
Yeah, sometimes as simple as that. What is happening when you both come home from work? What is happening? You both have full-time careers or whatever, kids, and what is happening there? What is the point of entry into that kind of space, into that environment? What is it there? Do you have a kiss? How long does it last? That kiss? Yeah. Do you hug each other? How do you introduce yourself into that environment?
Right.
Yeah. So, and then what is it there? What do you need to do in the evening? Kids, kind of homework for kids, whatever, what is happening there. And sometimes, again, I guarantee there are so many discoveries.
I
So
think
many discoveries.
I think if I can just jump in here, Gulya, I think a lot. I'm just thinking about the question itself. That when people say how frequent and how long, I'm guessing people think it's penetrative sex that they're talking about. And that is what we are socialized in. And what we're talking about here is the repertoire of sexual repertoire that you have, the communication, the desire, the 6-second kisses, the hugs, the this, the that, the sexual conversations with clothes on and clothes off, So what is your repertoire? And so I guess if you want to answer that question from that point of view, having that repertoire, you can do it every day.
Yeah, every day.
Every day. Every 6 seconds.
And Azah, such a good point you made. Yeah. Sexual repertoire, sexual menu. Sometimes we may have a big, lavish dinner. Yeah. Sometimes we can grab a quick sandwich. We can have a quickie. Yeah. I had a couple, they did not have sex like for 8 months for kind of, a young kind of couple, and they're thinking about kids and all that. And suddenly, they came to realize that we actually have a quickie in our lunch hour even. So that was like a discovery. Very quick, very kind of, but something which invigorated them for the day, for the, next day they can have a real good sex and talk about knowing their brakes and accelerators and make it happen. Okay, they plan it, which means actually they have sexual fantasies. That is what it means technically, guys. Yeah.
So I feel that question, we're answering it in a different way. Instead of saying, you have penetrative sex once a week for half an hour, is what I think people want to hear and do. But what we're trying to also say that it is much bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. It's your communication. Again, we were talking about it. It's your. I guess your homework could be, what is your menu?
What is your menu?
Yeah, what is your menu?
Yeah.
That's another one. So
I to have a good conversation on that. What is your menu?
And that is also, that's sex already,
Yeah.
So how many times can you do that?
Actually, to be realistic, yeah. Sometimes it might become a bit like, when people are trying for kids, they watch their calendar, they watch kind of all those things. So it is the sexual interaction in a bigger sense. It is generous enough, to anything can be there. Again, anything, guys. So don't get freaked out or don't get kind of disappointed, if it doesn't follow always these kind of big conversations, deep conversations, and all that. It can be anything and everything.
I think the biggest thing is have fun. It's pleasurable, and connect and be safe.
Yeah.
Pleasure. So there's another question, and I'm going to lump a few things together, like basically about like sexual preferences. Some people might have different sexual preferences, or maybe your partner's clumsy or awkward in bed, which can be quite frustrating and ruin the mood. So how do you best communicate that, his preference or his style is not your desired style? I don't know. I think direct.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the level of directness. Again, it is very different, isn't it? For one couple, for another couple. But again, guys, even having the language. Yeah, I hope this conversation gave you kind of a wider language, a more varied language for talking about that as well. Even like brakes and accelerators. We talk about brakes and accelerators all the time when we think about our cars. Yeah, but the language can be introduced in your everyday conversation. Yeah, the kind of desire you have, like kind of linear desire or more like circular desire, which is most common for men and women. Yeah, like starting not necessarily from purely a sexual place, yeah, sexual thoughts, but kind of just the willingness. Yeah, and it's interesting, just what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know if I can, probably I can't share the screen right now, but still to have a conversation about sexually, what is it I do, what is it you do,
Mm.
what I want to do, what I would like you to do. Yeah. What I don't mind people doing, but say wouldn't do myself.
Mm,
Yeah. What is on my mind, but I never talked about it to you. I never did, for example. Yeah. So that 3 minutes game, guys, really opens up a lot of possibilities.
nice.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
also I also feel what's pinging for me as well right now is creating safety. Clumsiness probably, especially with either the man or the woman, would probably feel like, oh, my partner is not going to love me, or going to, I feel some sort of disconnection because
Yeah.
I'm clumsy. So I think it's very important at that time or later on, whenever it's safe, to reinforce it's okay. We're
Yeah.
just having fun. It's okay to be clumsy.
Yeah.
Laugh
Yeah.
about it, you know?
Yeah.
So really creating a safe space, because I feel that
Yeah.
could either be a make or break. It can break the connection of safety, and then the
Absolutely.
shutdown, you have a complete slam on the brakes, or
Yeah.
be a huge accelerator from one to
Yeah.
100 in 2 seconds.
And what is clumsy? What is clumsy? You can have a, and
Have a conversation for that. Yeah.
well, it's an interesting, like, related to that. Sometimes people say, kind of come and say, a partner might say, like, I don't like sex. Yeah. I am not interested, kind of, it's not my thing.
Yeah. Yep.
But
Yep.
then, we usually have a conversation around it, like sex is a big thing, isn't it? What is specifically, what is more exactly, what do you not like about sex? Is it the beginning? Is it the lack of foreplay sometimes? Is it how he approaches you or she approaches you? Is it how it goes? What is happening? So unpack it a bit, guys. Don't lump everything kind of in one pile, into one big
Yeah.
pile, which becomes a bit like, scary to approach him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So curiosity, that is,
that's a good place to land, I think, because like there was one comment here that talks about like, is actually sex overrated, like, is it, how important is it? and
yeah,
and I
yeah,
think, like, within the context of relationship and what we've talked today, it's more than just a physical act. It is a whole emotional connection that
absolutely.
brings everything together: your brain, your emotions, your physical, and it's that holistic thing, right? So
Yeah.
it's not
I
something
think,
that's separate.
Grace, you probably sent it already, the list of like resources. Yeah. There
Yes,
is a real
you
good
can
book
send it
which
out
is
in a
called,
bit now.
yeah, which is called Magnificent Sex. Yeah, there is a book. Yeah, and there is a very little portion of the actual kind of physical side to it, but more like what you just summarized so
Mm.
beautifully, Grace, about connection, safety, intimacy, kind of conversations, and knowledge about yourself and about the other one, and curiosity and compassion, and a lot, a lot. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so we do have, Gulya has really wonderfully listed out all the resources, which I believe will it be posted on the chat as well, so that you can have a look and see, read more about it, find out, get educated, because I think oftentimes we are not really educated in this area, or rather we have a very narrow view about things. So I hope this conversation really has opened up everybody's minds about what sexual intimacy is really all about. And I am so thankful to have you, Gulya and Azah, here today for our conversation. Thank you so much for all the very practical things that you have shared with us. The biggest takeaway is the brain is really,
Yeah,
for me anyway, I was like the brain is really the most important sexual organ, I
sexual
thought.
organ.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 and just doing all those little activities of like the 6-second kisses and the 10 to 15-second hugs, and
yeah.
just very practical. Thank you so much for today's conversation.
You're welcome.
Okay, I enjoyed it, guys.
I
Yes,
did
I
too.
want it to continue. Seems like time just flies. Yeah. Thank you
Right.
so much, and for all your wonderful questions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Same here.
you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye for now.
All right. Bye bye. Don't
Now,
forget to do the homework. Okay.
yeah, do your homework. Yeah. We might have another conversation, by the way. Yeah, with
On that, on the homework.
yeah, yeah.
That's great. That was great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay, thank
you.
you. Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.